Hey guys, what's up and welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to my review of the Leatherman Free P4 and T4. We're going to double team it today and get into both of these tools at once. We're going to talk about how these tools are introducing something brand new to the Leatherman lineup that is really sort of an evolution of what they've been trying to do all along, in my opinion, and I think an important step in that regard. Leatherman did send me these tools for review. I'm trying not to let that color my opinion of them, but man, I've got a high opinion of them, so you're going to have to decide for yourself. We're also going to compare these tools to a handful of other Leatherman multi-tools, talk about my experience using these tools in the time that I've been working towards this review, and cover some other stuff as well. But one of the other things I want to talk about is the fact that I just hit 200,000 subscribers very recently, and I am planning on doing a 200,000 subscriber giveaway. You have to be a subscriber to be eligible for it. So if you've never subscribed, but you keep coming back to watch, I encourage you to subscribe now because there will be some stuff that you're going to want to get for free. So subscribe now, come back for that. It's coming up. I don't have a date yet, but keep watching. It's coming. The free P4 and T4. What's so different about these tools that makes them so interesting? By the way, let's get this joke out of the way. That's not free, it's $139. That's not free, it's $59. Yeah, I know. That's obviously not what Leatherman meant when they said free. They're talking about more or less the freedom of use, of utility. These are far more usable tools than many of the tools they've produced up to this point, and I'll talk about why. Let's first set the T4 aside. We're going to get to some details on that soon. And let's talk about the P4. Before we get to the P4, let's very quickly cover the simple but nice looking nylon sheath that it comes with. Slips into very nicely and easily, some good friction, and a nice little snap. A little belt loop on the back, a little bit of, what do you call it? A little bit of stretchiness there. Yeah, so that's nice. Expands a little bit, makes it easy for that thing to fit in there, but good sheath, I think. Not super special. They kind of made a big deal about it at SHOT Show when they were doing the booth review on these things. They really talked about the sheath for a while. It's a sheath. It's fine, but it's a sheath. The P4, on the other hand, is excellent. And I didn't demonstrate the coolest feature of this tool just then. So let's demonstrate that now. Here it is. See that one-handed opening? Yeah, it was a little messy. It looked like I was a very bad balisong spinner, but whatever, dude. Or flipper, not spinner, excuse me. Oh, look, we got a tool moving out of there. That's uncommon. That has not happened yet. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the one-handed opening of this is huge. That's the thing that makes this tool so different from what Leatherman has offered in the past and so interesting. Yeah, again, the price is high. This is on par with, here's an older version of the Charge, but it's on par with the Charge, which has 154 cm steel. Is that correct? It's not it there. This is it there. 154 cm. It's right there on the blade. It's got this nice steel on it. It's all aluminum, handle scales and so forth. You would think that this is worth 140 bucks, and why is this worth 140 bucks? Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that. That is definitely up for you guys to decide. But the features on this set it apart so humongously from anything that Leatherman has done in the past. The usability, again, the utility, how easy it is to use, makes it humongously different. So what has every other Leatherman tool how has every other Leatherman tool worked in the past, which is different from how this one works? Well, it's basically, this guy is dependent on sort of spring tension, which is sort of built into the back here. It's got a lock there, obviously, that you can see. But there's sort of these springs that are sort of built into the handles. You can see this whole strip of metal right here is basically spring, and it kind of bends as I lock these into place. This is kind of a dusty old tool, but I keep it in the range bag so it gets a lot of dust and dirt on it. But those springs plus also just general friction, okay, some tightness of all these pivots and so forth. And we've got a sort of a common liner lock going on there with, normal friction on that blade, normal friction on this on this file and a lock, as well as, this kind of works the same way. And this is one of their higher end tools, okay? But, friction spring lock, that's basically what keeps this thing running and keeps it together. And that has worked really well for a long time. They've decided to say, why don't we get rid of the friction? Let's get rid of all that friction. Do we really need it? And you can see how floppy this thing is. How does it even work when there's no friction there? No friction in those pivots. Well, it works because, they still have springs locking certain things in place. Not locking, but retaining certain things in place. I don't think you could build a tool without springs to sort of make these little joints work, right? I think you're always going to need that. But what it has in addition to that are strategically placed magnets. And I can't even point to where they are very easily because they're kind of, I could probably find them, but they're in there. They've got magnets that do all the retaining. That right there, that's a magnet holding those two ends together. That's why that sticks together. So it's not friction like this guy. That's friction holding that closed, and it can flop open. Same goes for the Juice S2. There's a little bit of spring tension in there from up here that's pulling that closed, but it's largely a lot of friction. Same goes with this black oxide Wave. Friction and a little bit of spring tension. With the free P4, they've introduced magnets to get rid of all that friction, and in my opinion, it works really well. Not just with the pliers, but with everything inside too. So yeah, you see a little bit of sympathetic opening right here, and that's more or less from the velocity of flipping the thing. But what we have here are tools that are accessible from the outside. The outside, and this is huge because it's not only outside accessible, but it's one hand accessible. And it's all due to the way that they've created this new, the new retention with magnets holding these tools in place. So it's not so much friction that you've got to deal with. It's very loose friction as far as, opening that up. You just kind of push here. It's very loose feeling. And then you can separate the tool you want. You've got your Phillips there. The other one was a scraper tool. And we're going to kind of gloss over the details of each and every one of these little tools. But a little scraper tool could double as a flathead screwdriver there as well. And again, you can push that open from here because the friction is so low. Same with this side. I'm going to say the word friction about 5,000 times in this video. Same with this side. We've got a can opener, we've got a ruler, we've got a file, and we've got an awl, kind of reamer sort of thing. And all of those are accessible so easily because I just push on the back there, separate out what I need, push it open to lock it. Takes a second. Lock it open, do my work, close it one-handed once again. Everything on this tool is one-handed, including opening the pliers. Saw, once again, very easy. Good saw. They do that thing where they counter grind it so the top is skinnier than the teeth. Super important. And so it's super easily accessible. Even if I need to get those off, those tools that are on the opposite side, easy to do. There's my serrated blade. Nice looking as well. I like that sort of tanto tip to it. Look at that, man. I could use that tip to pry stuff. Oh, that's cool. I actually like that a lot. It's very sharp, but you could do some heavy duty work with that chisel tip. That's cool. And the lock, again, super easy, and then retains partially by magnet. So you got your knife there, you got scissors on this side I didn't point out yet. Easy to access, not super tough to push out because lower friction is what you get to have because of those magnets retaining. Good scissors too, and that's more or less the tool. Pocket clip is easy to remove. Get yourself one of these little Husky Torx driver things and you can undo that pocket clip real easily and get rid of it if you want to. Then just use it in the pouch. So in my opinion, again, we didn't mention this, replaceable bit drivers, which is basically the standard now on all Leatherman tools. I appreciate that. And you can see that the head, the plier head, looks very much like these old ones from the Wingman, as far as just the geometry of it, in my opinion. It's roughly the same size too. It's just that it's got the replaceable bit drivers in there. So in my opinion, this is a huge leap forward for Leatherman. They've abandoned one attribute of the old technology and replaced it with something brand new, magnets. To me, that makes so much sense. I don't know why somebody didn't do it sooner. I don't think that justifies the higher price necessarily. I think you're mostly paying for R&D with that higher price. But the utility, the added utility is huge, humongous in my opinion. Should we talk about some of the use that I put this plier through? Sure, do that real quick. So I recently replaced, I don't have footage of this, so you're just gonna have to listen to my animated description. Replaced some baseboards as I was doing some painting work in the basement, yanked out the old ones and had to yank out a whole bunch of nails. So I had to grip those nails with this thing and crank, 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 and yank them out of the wall. Didn't have any kind of a hook that would pull them, so I had to rely on the pliers to do that work. In some cases, had to cut things, and in other cases, needed the knife to trim sections of baseboard that weren't fitting quite properly, so I would trim them down and get them to fit right and so forth. So that's largely what I use this tool for. I've used a number of the other pieces on here at random times as I've carried this around in my EDC bag for this and that. Now let's take a second and look at the Leatherman T4, which we have not taken a closer look at just yet. So the T4 is more or less a pocket knife, right? But a pocket knife with multi-functions to it. So you've got your pocket clip on there, same clip as we have on the P4, and then sort of stainless steel and plastic, looks like construction on it. And that plastic more or less acts as a spacer to give you the room to have all the different tools that you need in there, as well as kind of give you a nice plate steel sort of look on the outside, which is really cool. So the main tool being the knife, locks open in the same way that the P4 does, closes in the same way. It's a decent knife, it's okay. And then the tools are outside accessible, one-handed accessible, just like on the P4. File there, I believe that one was a flathead screwdriver slash scraper, actually the same exact scraper that's on the P4. And then on the opposite side of the T4, we've got an array of tools back here, and you can get access to them in the same exact way. Phillips there, we've got an awl, and then we've got scissors, and all of them look great. Now, is this enough tool for the money? This one at $59.95. Compared to the Juice S2, which is on their website right now, $52.46 on sale at the time that I'm taping this. And this is the older version, the original version of the Juice S2. The new one looks a little different. Tools look slightly different. Again, 52 bucks. This is 59 bucks. Would you take this over that? Some of you might. A lot of you might. Actually, I might. But there's the, that's kind of how that one works out. And it's also, I think it's actually pretty comparable, definitely in price, to the Wingman here, which is $59.95 on the Leatherman website. This obviously has pliers that I showed you before, spring-loaded pliers, and then a bunch of other tools, some of them outside accessible, including the part-serrated knife and the scissors on the opposite side, and then we've got a handful of tools accessible from the inside there. So you guys have seen the Wingman, I'm sure, a bazillion times. Is this more worth your 60 bucks than this is? A lot of you guys are probably gonna say yes. I might agree with you there, but this does incorporate that new magnet technology from the Leatherman Free line, so that's gonna be why the price is what it is. These prices will probably come down over time. As I said, you're probably paying for R&D, but are they good tools? Yeah, they're still really good tools. We could also talk about some of the gripes that a lot of folks are going to have with the free P4 line. Not just the price, but the missing tools. And there are some missing tools. A lot of guys have gotten used to the bit driver. I'm going to show it to you here on the charge. This bit driver right here, which is very nice. It's built right in. It's already got the bit in it. Then on the other side, we've got that micro bit driver down there as well. Also cool. And then the high quality steel on the charge, 154 cm. Sorry, there it is, 154 cm. People love that. Why don't we have that nicer steel on this? Again, I think you're paying for R&D right now, and prices will probably come down in the future. But having said all that, Leatherman has made some really, really interesting tools throughout the several decades that they've been a company. I've been a fan for a long time. And I still am. Yeah, am I a little bit biased? Could be. but not because they sent me the tool. I would have bought it anyway eventually. I'm just one of these guys that at this point doesn't make any more money off of YouTube, and so I just take what I can get as far as cutting costs. But that's more or less everybody's deal these days. Leatherman makes, again, great tools, and I think that the free P4, T4, P2, which is the other one, and a bunch of other things in the line, they're a huge step up from everything that Leatherman has done in the past, technology-wise. And I think that this is the direction that they're going. I believe, we talked about missing tools before. I think that they're actually going to create other versions of the free technology and incorporate that into other tools in the future. So we've got your outdoor specific tools, your tactical specific tools, et cetera, et cetera. I think they're going to incorporate some of this technology into lots of other things down the line, but they had to introduce something like this to start with to see if it caught on, to see how customers reacted and so forth. I'm excited about it. And I think that, again, it's going to matriculate or move into lots of other tools in the future. But for now, I'm pretty stoked about these ones. Guys, that's the review. The Leatherman P4 and T4. I'm the Late Boy Scout. Y'all be good. And remember, 200,000 subscriber giveaway is coming up, so subscribe if you have not already. See you next time.